In a dense, dark jungle where every sunrise was a fight and every shadow held danger, there lived a massive male panther. His name was Bagheera. He was strong, silent, and swift. To the other animals, he was both revered and dreaded. To them, his mere existence was a threat, his steps a drumbeat of terror. None dared approach his tree, none except for a small green parrot named Kiwi. Now, this wasn't just a chance encounter or an oversight. No, Kiwi specifically chose to live in the same tree as the great panther. At first, this might seem like madness, a tiny bird living in the shadow of a hungry predator. But as days turned into weeks and weeks into months, this unusual companionship became a puzzle for the entire jungle. How could a parrot live so carelessly near a panther? Why didn't Bagheera eat Kiwi? What truce had been struck between them? Even the wisest of the jungle creatures couldn't unravel this mystery. All they could do was watch and wonder. But the answer to this puzzle wasn't a secret. It was hidden in plain sight. It was in the rustle of the leaves, in the chirp of the birds, in the very air of the jungle. But few bothered to listen. They saw only the panther and the parrot and wondered about their coexistence. They failed to notice that what was happening in that tree wasn't just a truce or an understanding. It was a profound connection, a friendship. You see, the jungle was more than just a place of survival. It was a place of stories, of relationships, of emotions, but the animals were too caught up in their own battles to realize it. They saw the panther as just a hunter and the parrot as just a bird. But the truth was far more intricate. Let me tell you, the bond between this parrot and the panther is born out of respect, understanding, and shared grief. One day, while Bagheera was at his usual spot, basking in the morning sun, he felt a sharp pain in his leg. He looked down to see a gash deep into his flesh. It was a wound inflicted by a rival male during a recent territorial dispute. Now, this injury wasn't life-threatening, but it was serious enough to hinder his movement, making hunting almost impossible. For the next few days, Bagheera struggled to get around. He was forced to stay away from his usual hunting grounds, subsisting on the little prey he could manage to catch. During this time, he became a shadow of his former self, losing his usual vigor. The wound throbbed, a constant reminder of his weakness. Each passing day brought with it a new challenge, a test of his Meanwhile, Kiwi, the little green parrot, was observing everything from her perch. She watched as the great panther, usually so proud and strong, became subdued and weak. She saw him struggle to move, to hunt, to exist, and a strange feeling stirred within her, a feeling she couldn't quite understand. She knew that normally a parrot would be prey for a hungry panther, yet she couldn't bear to see him suffer. One day, driven by this inexplicable feeling, she decided to approach him. She flew down from her tree, stopping just a few branches away from Bagheera. Now, usually, a parrot's arrival wouldn't go unnoticed. They are, after all, quite noisy creatures. But in this case, Bagheera was too consumed with his pain to notice her. Kiwi, taking advantage of his distraction, began to speak, not in her usual cheerful voice, but in soft, soothing tones. She began to mimic the sounds of the jungle, the rustle of the leaves, the chirping of the crickets, the distant call of an owl. At first, Bagheera remained unresponsive, lost in his own world of pain. But as Kiwi continued her soft symphony, something stirred within him, a flicker of awareness, a spark of curiosity. He turned his head slightly, trying to locate the source of these calming sounds. As their eyes met, Kiwi didn't flee, although she could have easily done so. Instead, she maintained her composure, continuing her soft, rhythmic chatter. Day after day, she kept him company, her soft sounds filling the space around him. Now, you might wonder what went through the mind of a panther when faced with such a peculiar situation. A parrot, mimicking the sounds of the jungle, consoling him, a wounded panther. Well, it was an experience beyond his comprehension, something he couldn't understand, yet something he found oddly comforting. As the days passed, Bagheera began to heal. The wound on his leg gradually closed, and his strength began to return. But Kiwi continued her visits, continuing to fill his world with her gentle sounds. She didn't stop even when he began to move around more, even when he started to hunt again. Their routine continued for months, and during this time, something extraordinary happened. A bond formed between them, a connection that defied the boundaries of their different species. They never communicated verbally, never exchanged words, yet they understood each other in a way that transcended language. And when I say they understood each other, I don't mean that the parrot understood the panther's words, or vice versa. No, their understanding was deeper, more profound. It was an understanding of emotions, of experiences, of the silent language of the soul. When Kiwi arrived at the tree, the panther didn't feel threatened. He didn't tense up or prepare to pounce. Instead, he felt a sense of calm wash over him. Her presence, though unexpected, was now a part of his life that he wouldn't trade for anything. And Kiwi, while she no longer saw the panther as just a dangerous predator, she saw him as a friend, a confidant, a companion. Their relationship became a beacon in the dense jungle, a shining example of unity and camaraderie. It was a clear, sunny day when a troop of monkeys chanced upon this unusual duo. They stopped in their tracks, their chatter dying down to a shocked silence. There, perched on the same tree, were the fearsome panther and the tiny parrot, engaged in what appeared to be a friendly conversation. The monkeys, being social creatures, couldn't resist the urge to spread the word. Soon, the entire jungle was abuzz with the news. The animals couldn't believe their eyes. A panther and a parrot. Friends? It seemed preposterous, yet utterly real. Some animals approached cautiously, observing from a distance, afraid to disturb this newfound harmony. Others, more daring, came closer, eager to witness this unique bond firsthand. Among them were deer elephants, leopards, tigers, all creatures that usually shied away from the panther's tree. But now they weren't afraid. In fact, they were intrigued, fascinated by the sight before them. But what did this duo do when faced with such curious onlookers? Did they shy away? Did they try to hide their friendship? No, they didn't. Instead, they carried on as if nothing had changed. The panther continued to lounge on his favorite branch, occasionally grooming himself. The parrot continued to preen her feathers, occasionally squawking loudly. Their actions, though simple, were a statement in themselves. They were a testament to their unique bond. The animals watching couldn't help but feel a sense of awe. They had known the panther as a solitary, fierce creature, and they had always steered clear of him. But now, they saw him in a different light. They saw his capacity for companionship, his ability to form bonds beyond the confines of a species. In the heart of the jungle, where life was often a struggle for dominance, this display of unity was truly remarkable. Their bond challenged the perceptions of the other creatures, forcing them to question their own beliefs and biases. As the days turned into weeks, this tree became a gathering spot of sorts. The animals of the jungle, curious and respectful, would come to observe this unusual duo. It was as if they were paying homage to a unique bond that defied the norms of the wild. In the end, the story of the panther and the parrot didn't just become a tale whispered among the trees. It echoed far beyond the borders of their domain. It became a metaphor for unity, understanding, and peace. It was a reminder that in a world often divided by differences, the most unlikely of friendships could thrive.